Welcome to the Advanced Freelancing Podcast. Every week, you'll hear strategies for building your online service-based business your way. And now, here's your host, veteran freelancer, author, and TEDx speaker, Laura Briggs.
Hello, fellow freelancers. Today, I am helping you answer the question, should I get off the freelance job boards? And if so, what does that process look like? Now, many people start off on freelance job board platforms like Upwork and Fiverr and have success. And that makes it really hard to decide whether or not to leave these platforms. But there's a number of things that might trigger you to think about going a different direction and possibly even shutting down those freelance job board platforms. So in this episode, I'm going to talk through what some of those signs are and then how to do it and to remember why you're making this decision to try to break away from these freelance job board platforms. Because in some cases, it might just make more sense to leave your profile up there, make some changes to it, and allow all of that great feedback you have from clients to work in your favor. So we'll talk about how to make that decision. So there are 4 signs that I think make some freelancers feel like it's time to move on. You know, like I've been reliant on Upwork for too long or Fiverr or whatever the platform is, and you're just ready to sort of break away and find a new path of bringing in clients. So I think the very first one is that you feel like you've learned what you can learn. Maybe you got on these job board platforms because you wanted to learn some of the business side of working with clients. You wanted to make sure you knew your boundaries well. You wanted to make sure you had good communication and systems set up. And now that you've had some actual experience working with plenty of clients, there aren't real questions for you anymore about how that works. So you've sort of outgrown some of the things that a platform like Upwork might help you with. A big reason that people turn to places like Fiverr and Upwork when they're starting their freelance business is because it gives you a little bit more peace of mind with regard to payment. And it also shows you that the client is serious because they have to go that extra step of posting a job, putting their credit card or payment information on file. And there are dispute systems in place to intervene in the event that you don't get paid. So it's a great way for new freelancers to get some experience without having a lot of stakes put in, right? So you don't have to build an entire website. You don't have to rebrand your LinkedIn profile. You don't have to pay a graphic designer to build you a logo talking about the freelance services you offer in a particular niche. Upwork and Fiverr and other job platforms for freelancers work really well for beginners to test things out when they're not yet sure if they want to commit to that service area or their particular niche. But if you feel like you've learned what you can learn and you're actually really good at attracting clients, or some of those clients have, referred you to other people off the platform, or you have people on retainer and it's just kind of going well in that way, you may not need to rely on the job platform anymore to bring in your new business. And so that's one reason that you may start thinking about, is it time for me to break up with the job boards and really make the focus of my freelance marketing look a little bit different? The second reason is there's not many good jobs anymore. So it could be any number of factors that contribute to this. It could be that your clients aren't using Upwork anymore, or your industry has gone to a different job board or has gone to recruiting people over LinkedIn, or you're just not seeing as many jobs pop up on the platform as you used to. I will say that Upwork in particular is cyclical. So on Fiverr, this might look different. This might be that you have gigs listed that sold really well in the past, but are no longer really selling as successfully anymore. So that would be a really good sign that you either need to pivot, or that maybe that you want to take these gigs, revamp them, and then come back with your own marketing engine. Especially on Upwork, if you're looking for jobs and, every day you're seeing the same ones, the ones you already looked at yesterday, and you're not really finding enough variety, that's a lot of time that you're spending looking at these positions and applying for the ones that are there. If the competition is really high and you're still applying for these roles, but they're going to other people, it may be time to say, hey, this might be saturated here, or for some reason my profile isn't standing out anymore. How can I pivot and connect with some of these same great clients, but maybe through a different venue? So the third reason might be that you're kind of fed up with trying to teach the platform to others. Now, this bothers some freelancers and not others. You're role as a freelancer is to deliver on the services and the deliverables that you have agreed to. But a lot of times we're working with clients who don't understand how to navigate Upwork in particular. I think Fiverr is a little bit more intuitive because it walks you through this process as a client of click, 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 and it's very easy. But people who are using Upwork, they don't know that they need to invite freelancers. They don't know how to set up a milestone. They don't know how to release the milestone. They don't know how to put you on retainer easily or approve certain things or ask for feedback. A lot of my clients get confused about what they can and can't do off the platform. So, right, it's a very well-known rule that you need to keep your payment on the platform. And some of my clients will panic over that until I tell them, hey, we can use your project management software. We can communicate over email, but we have to keep the billing through the Upwork workroom, right? So there's a lot of education that may just feel really frustrating for you. I've seen some freelancers handle this really well by creating PDF documents to help clients with screenshots or explaining to them what to expect at each level in the process. In fact, I hired one of these freelancers for a project where he told me, like, this is when you're going to release the milestone, and I won't go to the next phase of work until you've done this. But it can still be hard for clients who aren't savvy with the platform to figure out how to use it. And maybe you're feeling like that's a point of friction with you and your business where you don't want to have to be the one continuing to educate them over and over again. So the fourth reason that you may be thinking about getting off the job platforms is you're tired of the rules changing on the platform frequently, or you feel like there's a certain tier of client on the platform that might have spoken to you when you were a beginner, right? But maybe is no longer relevant for where you're at in your business now. So something on the platform itself is problematic for you. So I view this as being different than not many good jobs anymore. Maybe it's just that you can do really well getting $50 an hour clients there, but when you raise your price to $80 or $100, you're not able to get as many of them. Or because your profile has so many jobs historically listed where you were paid $50 an hour, you're having to explain to clients why you're now charging more. And then if you feel like the rules of the platform are changing, I think this is more common with places like Fiverr, where there's very specific rules about what happens if you don't deliver on time. If you feel like that is just getting unwieldy for you, or it's hard for you to keep up with, or you're accidentally brushing up against rules, you may just be fed up with it. And you may just want to say, hey, I want to create my own rules. I don't want to be relying on this job platform anymore. Now, everyone should have diversity in their freelance marketing. It is never a good idea to build your business entirely based on one marketing platform. Just ask any number of the coaching clients I've worked with who've come to me too late after their Upwork profile has been banned, or their referral network has dried up, or some method that they used to use to market is no longer effective anymore. So it's a good idea to think carefully before you branch out of the job boards. How can you build a bridge into the next version of your freelance business? What strategies can you put in place to start marketing yourself now so that you don't have to go all or nothing immediately? Because as you know, it took you time to learn the job platforms. It's also going to take you time to figure out your new marketing methods. And there will be some trial and error there where you won't get things exactly right. So I like to say, start by creating a bridge and don't quit immediately. Instead, maybe you decide a cutoff point, or maybe you just recognize that this is going to be a gradual process where you're not going to commit to being done in 3 months or 6 months, but you're going to slowly try to move where you're at now, which might be 80 or 100% of your business coming from the platform, and adjust that percentage down. Now, I did this several years ago because a friend of mine who is a freelancer as well got me thinking about this idea of digital sharecropping, which is building your business on someone else's turf. She pointed out that whether you're reliant on Facebook groups to grow your coaching business, or an Upwork profile, or some lead service that you pay, like to get emails weekly with job leads or something like that, you are giving them total control over the marketing in your business. And if you get banned, if that company goes out of business, if they dramatically change the way they do things, your entire business is in the balance as well. So I, at the time, had about 90% of my freelance business coming from Upwork. This was around, I think, 2016. And I got really nervous about that. Like, what happens if this company sells to a new brand and the quality of clients goes down, or there just aren't as many of my clients on the platform anymore? So I slowly wanted to flip it where about 70 to 80% of my clients were personal clients, long-term referrals and retainers, things like that, where I was using Upwork more as a supplement to my freelance business, but not the base of it, right? And so valuable for thinking about if you're doing a lot of business on either of these, any of these platforms, is how do you make it a little more balanced, right? I talk about this all the time, not letting anything in your business take you to zero. And if you are completely reliant on one marketing method or one client, you have essentially given over control of the cash flow and the marketing in your business to a company that you have no say in how it runs. You have no say in their terms, their rules, the kinds of clients that they attract. And so that's a very dangerous thing. So create a bridge. Don't quit immediately. It may take you some time. I will say it took me probably about 6 to 7 months to slowly flip the percentages in my business to where I was working primarily for clients that I had off the platform and was using Upwork for supplemental work or introductions to new clients, but at a much slower pace than I had been before. Now, as you're creating this bridge, and if you decide to shut down your profile entirely, make sure that your profile either still looks professional or that you leverage it, right? So if you have a great reputation on these freelance job boards, do not lose it. For over 2 years, I earned very little from Upwork. It really became almost non-existent in my business in 2019 and 2020. I still kept my profile active because I had great feedback from clients. It still showed up when people Googled my name. And so there was a really good reason for me to keep my Upwork profile alive, even though I put that I was not available for current work or that I had very limited availability during that time. So it depends on how much is on your profile, kind of how much of a reputation you have built there. If you are going to take your profile down entirely because you've made the jump, copy and paste all of your best feedback into a Google Doc so that you can use it later. I use it in the About section of my LinkedIn profile. I have even made a full PDF document for prospective clients with some of my feedback from Upwork clients. And I either put just their first name of the person I was working with, or I'll say something like, Denver marketing agency owner, something like that. And that way I still get the benefit of all of that hard work I did on that platform, even though it's not as powerful as having a direct testimonial with someone's full name on my website. So think about that, and if you don't want new clients from the platform, but you want your platform profile to stay alive and searchable, you can leave your availability as on so that if you get invited to jobs, you still pop up in those search results, but maybe you raise your rates. Maybe you're like, you know what? I want to be closed off to all but the best possible clients who could find me on Fiverr or Upwork. So I'm going to change the price of all of my gigs or my hourly rates to make sure that people know that they're hiring a premium provider. This way, you're not blocking yourself, because sometimes there are really amazing clients. My profile was dormant for such a long time. It still showed up in search results. And then I landed across an incredible job that ended up being a $2,500 a month retainer from an Upwork client, and then got introduced even recently when I kind of revitalized my profile to a $20,000 6-week project. And so I never want to block myself from those opportunities. So think carefully about that as you're deciding whether or not to branch off of the platform. And also, before you quit, make sure you have another form of marketing firmly in place. So I'm talking about not just an awareness of how you'll market, or you've been sending some cold pitches and you're seeing how that's going. I am talking about an actual working marketing method. So something where you're starting to get traction, you're getting on calls, you've landed a couple of clients, you have reason to believe that this marketing method is working. I think that's really important, because jumping too soon can be really problematic for sticking your toe in the water that quickly and then discovering that maybe something doesn't work, which is why that first tip of creating that bridge is so very important when you are building your business in this way. Now, you may decide to come back to the platform at a point in the future. If your profile's been deleted, you could be starting fresh entirely. Your search engine rankings may be down even if you left your profile up during that time. But I have seen, because I've done it multiple times, the possibility of having your profile be almost dormant on the site, but still there, and then kind of jumping back in and submitting a bunch of bids to existing jobs. You will not get as many job invites necessarily, but you can definitely still get some traction relatively quickly, especially if the material that is on your profile is still very good. So if you still have lots of reviews from previous clients, even if those projects are a year ago, 6 months ago, that can still work in your favor. Now, sometimes you might feel like a clean, fresh start is the best way to approach this entire situation. You might be feeling like you want to take your platform profile down because you're entirely focused on your new marketing method and you really want to just kind of say goodbye to that phase of your freelance business. This is a really personal decision. So, my perspective on it is, because there's so much feedback on my profile, and because it does show up when people Google my name or Google my name and content writer, I didn't want to lose the positive credibility and social proof that was associated with somebody who may find me in that way, or a client who gets referred to me and sees my Upwork profile as part of all of my overall work. That's really something to weigh in your mind as far as what you hope to achieve by taking your profile down in full, because there is almost a sense of, permanence in doing that, where you're going to lose some of that positive traction that you had. However, I totally understand getting to that point of saying, hey, I'm not even getting any jobs on this platform anymore. I've completely rebranded and my new marketing method is working. So I'm going to instead take my profile down completely so that I am not searchable. One reason to do this might be that maybe you used one of these platforms to get your freelance business started, but now your prices are 3 or 4 times higher. And if you have the past work history visible on your profile, especially when those numbers are there, or when someone can deduce, like if the job title says like 10 hours of work and they can see that you got paid $300, so they can figure out that you were charging $30 an hour, that can do more harm than good for your profile, because you might find yourself in more of a position of feeling like you have to defend your new prices, or actually defending those new rates when a client asks that information. However, I will say I move my hourly rate around on Upwork all the time. And I found that going super, super high is appropriate when you're trying to discourage all but the absolute best clients from contacting you. But it's nice to have some sort of an average number in there, because not every client expects you to be beholden to that. They're not saying like, well, you had $150 an hour on your profile, therefore that's what I expect you to charge me. And I also have found in the last couple of years that clients are more open than they have been in the past to the idea of you raising your rates. That's not a surprising thing anymore that catches them off guard and makes them feel like they are not getting a good deal in choosing to work with you as a freelancer. So it's, and I've seen that as well, where I've invited freelancers to jobs on Upwork, and I can see in their work history that they charged other people less. It just says to me as a client, there's either something more complicated about this job, or they've recently raised their rates across the board. And so if you feel like your profile feedback and what's on there is harming you, or maybe it's gone down and your job success score is really low because you had a couple of really bad experiences with clients, then it may make more sense to close your account down. But I'll kind of end on this thought, is that I never want to block myself from potential business. So I would rather have the client who reaches out to me and deal with any potential awkwardness of, oh yeah, that rate is old, I don't charge that anymore. Or if you found me on LinkedIn and not through Upwork, you don't have to hire me on Upwork. But then not have the job at all, right? So I would rather have a profile out there that makes me look really professional, and when someone can see some social proof and positive feedback, than not. So that's a personal decision based on what you want to achieve with your business. But breaking away from the job boards certainly gives you more of a sense of control over how you operate your business, because you're not reliant on them anymore, right? So I still use Upwork. I still have a couple of great clients on the Upwork platform, but I'm not 100% reliant on it. I know it's a great place for me to turn when I need to drum up a little more business, or to do weekly scans to see what great jobs have been posted. But there's a lot of freedom in knowing that I don't need it for my business to operate. It's not absolutely essential that I keep everything active on there as well. So if you're thinking about branching out besides the job boards, start slow, build your way up, have plenty of time to be able to test what things are going to work in your business so that you feel really confident if you do decide to make your profiles inactive or take your gigs down, that you've made a good decision by covering the rest of your benefits. So thanks so much for tuning into this episode. I'd love to hear from you, info@Better Biz Academy. If you have a success story also of breaking away from the job boards and how you did that, I'd love to hear how that happened for you.